Well, welcome back to the next episode of the Block 44 podcast. This is episode 5. Today we are joined by Liverpool fan and current English champion fan, Benjy Sampson. Benjy, say hi.
Hello. How are you doing?
Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we are sharing one mic as the other one just won't work. So we're going to move on. Benjy, going into this new season, I'm sure as a Liverpool fan you were very, very confident about what was going to happen. Can you just sum up your thoughts and feelings coming off the high of last year and sort of the low of going into this year?
I think to summarise the early few games in the league, we scraped by wins. we scraped by wins consistently with last minute goals. For example, the Bournemouth game where it was right up until the last few minutes of the game where we managed to pull 2 over in the last few minutes to win. And we kept finding a way to win late on, and everyone kept saying, well, it's only going to be a matter of time until they get found out and they're not able to outwork teams or make up for defensive errors by just outworking them late on. And we did get found out for however many games it's been. I think it's the last 5 out of the last 6 have been losses. I know we've pulled off wins. That might be just the league, but we pulled off a win against Villa, which gave a little bit of hope. But I think defensively it's worrying at the moment. There's just no organisation, and no matter how much money we have spent now for this transfer window, all of that money went on the attack, and I don't think the attack is the problem. Wirtz gets criticised an awful lot, but he's creating chances. They're just not getting taken. Salah's underperforming, he has set such a high bar for himself that having a few bad games is underperforming for him. Whereas for any regular player, you look at them and they have a couple of bad games, it's just written off as a couple bad games. But Salah has consistently performed for so often, for so long, over the past since he's joined Liverpool, that the second he has a few weeks poor, everyone's like, well, he's washed now. He's done. And it might be the case. It might not. I hope he can turn things around, but I do believe it's time for Slot to try some new things and definitely work on the defensive tactics.
Yes, I watched the first few games of the season, specifically the very first game of the season, Liverpool versus Bournemouth, which was a rather unconvincing win, to be perfectly honest with you. But obviously, what we've seen this season, Bournemouth, who are behind us, have had an absolutely phenomenal start, and it's looking like they are going to go quite far this year. It's hard watching Liverpool because you did have a good start to the season, and you were quite high. I think it's not too late to rule you out of the title race if things picked up immediately. But there have been a lot of calls recently for Slot out. People are saying Arne has been found out, like you just said, and he can't carry on. Do you think he has got what it takes to adapt and bring this team back to where it could be and fighting for the title again this year or next year?
He won a Premier League in his first season. There's not many managers that can say that they've done that. And most managers deserve to be given a bit of time. I know he inherited a very good squad, but different managers are tactically different. And so no matter what squad you inherit, there are going to be issues with it. And it was a bonus that he managed to win the league in in his first season. But I think where Klopp got years his first 3 years of the club were just all about building. The squad he inherited was nothing special. And I don't believe he should be sacked after a bad run of games. I do believe we're out of the title race this year. I think we've lost as many games as we did all season, and we're only in November. But that's fine with me. If we are out of the title race, there are other competitions. We're still in the Champions League. I think we've just got to be aiming to get top 4 this year in terms of league performance. It's so early on. It's hard to say that we are done and dusted. But in terms of current position, I think we sit 8th. Just keep focusing on just put a few wins together back to back. And I think our next few fixtures are all against teams that are in the lower part of the league. So hopefully this is able to give the club some momentum when it comes to putting some results, putting some quality results back to back. The win over Real Madrid's definitely a confidence boost. They, it's a strange one at the moment. I'm not sure what needs to change, but I definitely think Slot does need to change a few things up, something, just to get some results back, some positive results back. However, anyone calling for him to be gone makes I feel like Liverpool are a different club compared to many. There aren't many managers that are sacked, like they're hired and then after a bad form are just gone. You look at clubs like Chelsea, for example. They're very quick to get rid of. They have been in the past very quick to get rid of managers as soon as they're on a bad run of form. Take Di Matteo, for example. He won the Champions League and then the next season was gone after like 4 or 5 games. Poor run. United have run through managers, and it's not the manager that's the problem necessarily. It's about the tactics, and it can take time for a team to gel into their roles. And I think the team's missing some key components. We have a lot of star individuals, but I'd say definitely some defensive signings need to be made, or just some defensive tactical changes, really.
That does make complete sense, and I mean that defensively it has been poor this season. Virgil has underperformed, Canate has definitely underperformed, and Kirkes as well has also been quite disappointing. I think in January some signings need to be made. Well, a signing, if you will, in Mark Gahey, and I'd just get Canate off the books. But is the squad defensively solid enough? Obviously, without Alisson in at the moment as well, Frimpong is teetering on injury fairly often. Is a defensive structure in place to actually progress within domestic cup competitions and European Cup competitions like the Champions League?
So I'd say yes for the Champions League. Yes, I feel confident that even though it was only a 1-0 win against Real Madrid, I believe it was Robertson, Bradley, Van Dijk and Canate, and then Mamardashvili at the back. Now, looking at those individuals, they are all very good individuals. We are missing Alisson, and I do think the role that Trent played at right back last season hasn't been properly fulfilled. That being said, I still love what Frimpong can do when he's played. He is injury prone at the moment, fairly susceptible to being stuck on the sidelines, and I believe he's back at the end of November. Conor Bradley's not quite that sort of false back midfield type player, but he still gives everything, and I love watching them both play. But that's where I sort of go with the defensive tactic issue, is the change of roles in certain positions because of the switch up in personnel. We've gone from, over the last few years, we've gone from that front three of having sort of the false nine attacking midfielder / striker position in Firmino, with 2 very attacking inside forwards of Mane and Salah, to then trying to have an out-and-out striker in Darwin that just didn't work out, unfortunately. And I think Luis Diaz replaced Mane very well, but with these changes of personnel, they're not always going to work out, and that's about having quality recruitment. And it's just a matter of time to see what happens, how well these players gel into their roles. Because when they come from another club, they're not going to be they're going to be asked. They're not going to be required to do the same job necessarily. And I feel like sound enough to progress through Champions League. However, domestic cup, I think we've knocked out of. We lost to Palace, but I don't know if it was in the Carabao or the FA. So that's one domestic competition we're out of. I think it'll just be interesting to see where we do go this season. The last thing I would say is don't sack Slot. Give him the rest of the season. Now, obviously, if we're to go on like a 10 or a 15 game losing streak, yeah, okay, that's levels. He wouldn't, he's not showing levels there. But we're talking about 4 or 5 games in a row. Sure, it's not ideal, but he's turned it around with a win against Madrid and a win against Aston Villa. There's still signs that he knows what he's doing and he's capable. So it's just a matter of letting things work out.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because obviously when you look at players you signed as well, such as Florian Wirtz, he seems to thrive against European teams. As from what we've witnessed so far with many players that have made the transition from Europe to the Premier League, that the Premier League is a cut above in quality, in pace, and intensity. And I guess that is why so many players do struggle when they do come over from European leagues. But talking about domestic transfers, obviously there was one saga that was prolonged for quite a long period of time throughout the summer, and that was Alexander Isak. I got one question for you, Benji, as a Liverpool fan. Was he worth the money?
I don't think there's a simple answer, really, for that, because I don't think we've seen Isak at his best at Liverpool yet, in a Liverpool jersey. When you take into account the money we paid, obviously the expectation is he's going to come into the club and he's going to play immediately to his highest standard. Unfortunately, he didn't get a pre-season like everyone else did. Now that is off his own. The whole drama of him avoiding training at Newcastle and not getting a pre-season is on him. It's not on anyone else. It is on him. However, and the way he behaved. However, the few games he's played for Liverpool are effectively his pre-season to get back to full fitness. I think from now, it would be nice to see how he performs and be able to judge him properly, because I feel like he's had enough time to get that fitness back up to where it needs to be. With game time and everything. The international break's coming up, so it'll be interesting to see how he performs for his country. And if he's on form and he comes back into the squad and he's firing, he's fully firing, then I believe he's worth the money. But I haven't seen anything yet that I feel like I can judge. The same with Wirtz, big price tag, and he's getting ridiculed awfully for the lack of contribution to goals and assists. However, when you watch football, it's not always about stats for me, and people can call this cope, but I feel like watching him play is entertaining. He's someone that I look at and I can see him trying to create chances, and it's entertaining football. Similar to the way Firmino was. Firmino was not big on goals and assists, but if he was on the pitch and Liverpool scored a goal, he was involved in that goal. You watch most of them, he'll be involved in it somewhere or another. He'll have started the play. He'll be a part of the build-up play. He's a key component to how the attack, how our attack was at the time, and I feel like Wirtz can do a similar thing. Obviously, when you pay that type of price tag, people expect stats. That's where the ridicule comes from. So for Isak and Wirtz both, I feel like Wirtz, I feel like he's worth the money. He's 23 years old, plenty of time in him. Not necessarily going to adjust to it straight away. Different country and everything. I just hope he's given the right amount of time and not just shipped off. If by the end of the season or end of the next few seasons. I don't think we'd ship him off straight away, obviously, but I hope he's given the right amount of time. The same with Chiesa. They need time to play. I'll wait. I'll hold my judgment on Isak until I've seen him play a few weeks consecutively, and then I'll say whether or not I feel like that money was worth it.
Let's stay on the topic of Chiesa. So when he's played so far this season, it's safe to say he has been really enjoyable to watch. He's been performed very well compared to his counterpart Salah, who perhaps hasn't played so well. Should Salah be dropped for Chiesa until Salah looks to pick up his form again?
So this is the type of thing I was speaking about earlier. I do think that given his ability to come off the bench and just give everything for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is he's given at the end of the game, it isn't, it deserves more. And I feel like give him one start. I know that they gave him the start against Frankfurt and Salah kicked off about coming on so late in the game. However, give him one start in the Premier League. We've got the perfect few games to now, having lower side teams. Not that we're in any position to, mix and match and take things lightly, but we're in a position where we've got to try something new. And these are the teams that are best, the best to try something new against. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Start Chiesa for a game, see how it works. If we get a result, boom, that's something to take on. Because he deserves it. The Bournemouth game alone, came on, scored that goal, and it was just he's another player where if no one was recording stats, he's a player that you just watch play, and it makes the game interesting. So I do feel like it's hard. I like Salah. He's always going to be a club legend, and he deserves the place in the squad still. He's not. I don't believe he is washed as such. I just simply think he's allowed to have a bad run of games, and if it does, continue, then you can call into question, where he's at in his career. Is he over the hill? But balance it. Still keep Salah playing. He is quality. It's a bad run of form. Switch him out for a game. See how things work. If it doesn't work, go back to keeping Salah on. Try Chiesa in a different position. Chiesa can also play all three positions up front. Can play on the left, can play centre, can play on the right. We have a lot of depth when it comes to forwards, and I think there's an interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who Slot prefers, because at the moment, obviously, we're seeing a pretty stable Gakpo on the left, Ekitike up front, or Isak. They're getting switched about, but mostly Ekitike, and then Salah on the right. Switch up a bit. Try something new. We are, Wirtz and Szoboszlai are interchangeable in that attacking midfield position. But I have seen that we've played Wirtz out on the left as well at times. We just have a lot of options, a lot of variety, a lot of free moving players, a lot of players that are able to play in multiple positions. I think, yeah, and so I think switch out Salah for a game, let Chiesa play, and keep moving around, trying different things over these next couple of games, just to see how things are working out.
Let's zoom out real quick, because it's starting to rain, so we're going to have to wrap this up very soon. Top 4 predictions. For me, it's looking like Arsenal is going to run away with this league title, but who do you reckon is going to follow them down the pecking order?
Right, so I simply can't put my faith in Arsenal winning the league. I'm going to go with a City win. Well, I have faith in Liverpool being able to pull it off, but if I'm being realistic and taking my bias out of it, I'm saying City win, Arsenal second, Liverpool third, and I will say Tottenham get fourth. I'd like to see Sunderland stay up there. They are performing incredibly well for a newly promoted side, and it'll be interesting to see where they do finish. I'm hoping they get a European spot.
I hope they get a European spot as well. I was really hoping that they'd carry it on, because I would love another fairy tale Premier League win, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon again, or maybe ever again. But for the time being, let's go to the other side of the table, where we have the relegation battle. Right now, it's looking like Wolves are are dead certain to go down. Obviously, their new manager has just made the very interesting decision to leave Middlesbrough, who probably have a fighting chance of being promoted from the Championship this season, to go to Wolves, who are practically nailed on to go down. I'd say they're in a very similar situation to what Southampton were last year.
When it comes to Wolves, I believe they're on 2 points. Yeah, they are struggling. And the change of a manager, the season isn't over, and the change of a manager could bring them, could very well save them. However, my prediction for the bottom 3 going down, I'm going to put Wolves in there. I believe Burnley are currently sat in there, and I think West Ham are down there at the moment. I do think West Ham will save themselves. So nailed on for Burnley and Wolves to go down. I'm not sure who else. I think we'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure where they are at the moment.
They're about mid-table. They're not doing too badly.
See, I think Leeds will stay safe. I have faith that Leeds will stay safe. I'm not sure who else will go down. It'll be interesting because I think it will be a club. It could be a club not like where. I don't think West Ham will, but I do believe it will be a club that's not been down for a little while. So it'll be interesting to see.
And this year, probably quite strangely, to be perfectly honest with you, because it's a World Cup year next year as well. Well, the same year. But we have the Africa Cup of Nations. How do you think that? What sort of effect do you think that will have on the league? Obviously, it looks like Sunderland will probably be the most affected by that at this moment in time. But do you have any other thoughts on how that could affect other teams? Obviously, Liverpool have Mo Salah and others, but they have various replacements that can come in of a similar quality to take over.
So I actually completely forgot about the AFCON coming around the corner. That could be a perfect chance for Chiesa to get his play time. We shall see. However, for Sunderland, yeah, I believe a lot of their starting 11 are players that will be going to that tournament. And as for me saying that I'd like to see them get Europe, that may completely put off those plans, because that is a month without those players, if not longer, depending on how well those nations, the nations do. But I think it'll be this. I think it's generally going to be the same as most years. For the majority of clubs, they're going to lose out on a couple of players. I believe, United will lose Burmo to Cameroon. There's going to be players from all clubs that are going to go over to represent, and so I think every club will be in the same boat in terms of how diverse every club is. I think Sunderland will definitely be heavily impacted compared to everyone else, which kind of ruins the whole idea of them getting Europe potentially. We'll see how well the rest of their team decides to fill in. But I think it'll be sort of Premier League as usual. We've seen the AFCON. We've seen how the AFCON has worked with over the past few years, and team like Liverpool had Salah and Mane both go off to it. Naby Keita. And we cope. I think a lot of the teams do have sufficient replacements. It'll be interesting to see how a newly promoted side gets on.
No, I completely agree, because obviously they did spend very well in the summer, but to have the replacements and the depth to continue going during that, I'm with you. I think they'll probably struggle during that time as well. We're going to go for 3 more questions, and then we'll wrap up episode 5 of the Block 44 podcast. The next one is more of one for you. I asked you in the car on the way here, do you have a football hot take? And if you are ready, I feel it is time to share that football hot take and why you believe in it.
I believe Darwin Núñez would still be at Liverpool if he didn't cost £80 million. I believe the reason why he got so much ridicule was that he cost that much money. Right. So to put into perspective, I believe if we'd signed him for 50 million, he'd still be at the club. The same way, lots of players are still at the club. I just feel like his performances were only highlighted because of the media pressure around him and Haaland at the time. It was the Nunes versus the Darwin versus Haaland debate. Who's going to be the better striker? And in hindsight, obviously it's not questionable. Haaland is Haaland, but all of that added to the reason why he was so heavily ridiculed. Yes, he had bad games. He had a lot of bad games. He missed shots, but he scored. Ekitike this year was the second Liverpool player to ever score for 3 games in a row for his first 3 games. Only other player to do that is Darwin. And I do feel Darwin is a quality player, and it is a shame that I'm not going to be seeing him in Europe. I want to still see him wearing the Liverpool top. I just love the passion he had for the club. It's a strange one because I'm aware for most other clubs, if you don't perform, then you're not good enough. But I always just felt like Darwin had the potential to be great, and it was external factors like his price tag, the media pressure, and his how erratic he was on the pitch that just led to heavy criticism, and it led to him leaving, and it's a shame. But that would be my hottest take, I think, 'cause I'm aware definitely not popular. And, I think most people think he's awful, but I love him. I will always. If I could build a statue of that man, I would.
This is why we need 2 microphones on this podcast, because I completely disagree with that statement. I think Darwin Núñez reminds me of Paul Onuachu at Southampton Football Club. A cult hero, good moments, glimpses, but nothing of real structure, consistency, or anything of those sorts. I mean, I see what you mean by he could have remained at Liverpool, but he would have been so far down the pecking order he never would have seen a game time. I wish we could have that debate in more detail, but obviously 1 microphone restricts us a little bit to that. So we'll go on to the next question. As we are currently in an international break, obviously England have already qualified for the World Cup next year. Do you think Thomas Tuchel can bring it home?
I think I might be shot when I say this, but no. I just don't think England. I'm yet to see an England team that I feel that can win it. The only time I thought
This team can win it?
no, I feel like the best chance we had, we fumbled, and it's under a different manager. And I will forever respect Gareth Southgate for getting us to a Euros final. It might have been 2 Euros finals, 2 Euros finals, and a World Cup semi-final. Was it? Yeah, a World Cup semi-final. He got us. Look at the quality of that squad. It's a trophy-winning side, and if that side's not winning it, I just simply think we are doomed for a little while. I hope to be proven wrong. I'm hoping by saying this, I'm jinxing it, and we will win something, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's always on a wing and a prayer, really, isn't it? Because the international break is a tough one. Managers don't actually get a chance to manage. You're given a team, and you basically just have to tell them to go out there and do their thing, because they get, a week of training. Can't implement any new style. You can't bring in different styles for different players for what they normally do. It's very much, do you play well together, play this style of football, and just go out there and do it. You don't really have any time to implement anything. So it will be a tough job, but I'm with you. I do hope that something does come through, as I'm sure every England fan does. Very last question. As a Liverpool faithful, I'm going to ask every guest this now who comes on our podcast. What is something nice you would say about Everton Football Club?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not. Everton aren't the biggest rivals in my opinion. I'd say Man United. I couldn't say a single nice thing about Man United.
We just had the conversation. We just clipped it. We just had the conversation that you feel Manchester United are Liverpool's biggest rivals over Everton. What is something nice you would say about Manchester United? It could be past or present, but what is something nice you would say?
I don't think I could compliment that club. I like they wear red. Right, that's about it. Yeah. They wear red.
Yeah.
Filthy club. Don't like them. They beat us. After years of ridicule, they finally beat us at Anfield. To a bloody Harry Maguire header. Nah, there's nothing I can say about that club. I mean, they're doing all right now. That's the positive I can think.
They're above you now, aren't they?
Yeah. But in one place, they're above us.
Yes.
So they're performing well at the moment. That's my kind thing.
I've got something else on that same topic. So Ruben Amorim has just won Manager of the Month for October. And Mbeumo won Player of the Month. But did Amorim deserve Manager of the Month? Because obviously he went the full month unbeaten, as did Arteta, but Arteta didn't concede a single goal. What are your thoughts on that?
Based on the simple criteria, the Manager of the Month, it could have been either of them. They both performed well for that month. I think if you were to look at it from a holistic perspective even, and you look at it, take a step back, then Amorim's performed well in comparison to his previous performances. It seems like the tide is turning. However, it's purely based off this 1 month. So based on the month alone, they're both impressive. Unbeaten and unbeaten without conceding a goal in terms of Arteta. Both of them could have won it. I don't really care which one won it because it's not Slot. So
He's nowhere near it, though.
not at the moment. He's got some things to figure out before that comes around.
Well then, that just about wraps up this episode 5 of the Block 44 podcast. So Benji, thank you very much for joining us, and we will be back